Daisy Jones. Can't seem to recall my true given name.
Welcome to the social-engineer.org podcast number 63.
63.
Hey, that was different.
Sorry.
No, that was good.
I just wanted to make it a little bit different than Dave's.
You tried not to be Dave. I liked it. You were your own person.
Yes.
It was really good.
Trying to be.
Yeah. It was more musical than I've ever heard you be. You normally don't sing.
We talk about my lack of singing ability quite frequently, so I'm working on that. It's weakness.
Awesome. We should send you to singing classes.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
We'll videotape them and put them on the website.
That would actually be probably like the most hit part of the website we have ever had. And if we get enough emails, we'll get a Michelle singing on the website. I love it. I love it. She's agreed to it, folks.
I agree to almost anything toward the social engineering cause.
And I have proof of that. I do. That's a true story, folks.
Dedicated employee, man.
Yep, very much so. So, let's talk about a few things that are happening. So, last week we released the DEF CON CTF report.
Causing waves.
Oh, big waves, big waves. And we've already had, 3 or 4 of the target companies reach out to us to ask for their meetings that we get every year to kind of talk about where they're at, which is great.
That's actually a great thing on them, right? They actually want to know what's going on.
Awesome thing. A lot of folks are like, thanks for what you do. Can you meet with us and tell us what we can do to improve? So really, really excited about that. Another good year there, and we've just started. Webinar occurred. By the way, the report still available for download. I know I got some complaints because a few people were like, heck, dude, it's taken forever to download 3 megs. Our site was getting slammed when we first released it.
Thanks for that, by the way, whoever that is.
Yeah, thanks for that. I appreciate that. We love you, too. That's a digital hug. We know it. So now you can get it. It's still available. And in addition to that, the webinar that we held, a few hundred people sitting on that, but the video is available for download. So you can grab that both on the social-engineer.org site is the videos, and we'll have a link on the .com to the webinar too. And you get to see not only my beautiful face, but Michelle's beautiful face in the webinar, since it's video-based in addition to audio.
And again, if you have any questions on it, you can contact us at, SECTF at socialengineer.org.
That is it. Just make sure you put the dash in between the social and engineer, and it will get right to us. Okay, what else? We got to continue to thank our sponsors, Wombat Security, Trusted Sec, Pindrop, and Qualys. Without those guys, we really don't even have the contest to be able to do it. So they enable us not only with their physical support, like Dave coming out and helping us, and Wombat with all their support, but financially, it's just very costly to run these things. We wouldn't be able to do as big of a job without the additional financial support. So we thank all those guys. Check them out. You can get right to their links from our website. On the sidebar, there's a sponsor section, and all of them are linked there. So make sure you check that out. You got to be ready for DEF CON 23. It's going to be huge.
Rest assured, it's going to be super cool.
More coming. Okay, let's talk about some training stuff before we get to our guests. A lot of questions throughout the last couple months about our 2015 training schedule. It is now on the website, so head on over to social-engineer.com. And you click right on that little training link and go to the Advanced Practical Social Engineering Training, and you'll be seeing all of the beautiful courses. Forget about Baltimore. It's already over.
Booked.
It's done, and it was sold out. I mean, completely solid, not one seat left. But Orlando, February 23 through 27, in beautiful sunny Orlando. It will be nice down there instead of the frigid, horrible weather from the rest of the country. So come down there and join us February 23 to 27. We actually are about a quarter full on that class already. So I would say get your butts over and get in there. A quick date change on Bristol. It's May 11 through 15. There's some bank holidays in the UK we need to take consideration. So there's a quick date change, but May 11 through 15 in Bristol, UK. Beautiful little city. I love that place, actually. I've been there about 5-6 times already. Great for engagements. It's got a ton of people, but not as busy and cramped as London.
And the
So,
beer is good, right?
oh, the beer is wonderful. And they have some really good food involving organ meat. So,
Gotta like that organ meat.
organ meat is wonderful. So we'll be in Bristol, May 11th through 15. Then back to Columbia, Maryland, the Baltimore area, October 5 through 9 of 2015. And we're gonna, of course, hope that we are ready to be in Vegas, either for Black Hat or we'll have a West Coast class sometime in the summer. And we'll know
And,
more about that in the next month.
and what's exciting is that is just our advanced practical SE course. That's just what you all know about.
Yes, but there is more. Wait, there's more. Now there's an infomercial, right? So the more is we are launching a brand new course, and it is going to be Advanced Practical OSI. 2-day course that's going to focus all on the aspects of open source information gathering, open source intel from the social engineer standpoint. And we are going to pick a very special location to debut that and see how that goes. So look for that class. We will announce more hopefully next month, but I'm really excited about that. Also excited about something else, Michelle. This is when you...
What, Chris?
Yes, but wait, there's more.
But wait.
So we have been asked nonstop for the last 2 years about a advanced level, like level 2 SE course. And I'm happy to say finally we have come up with the curriculum, we have come up with the plan, and we are about to announce it. But here's the wah wah wah. It's going to be invite only at first because it is really, really so hardcore. I can't release details yet. I know it's terrible. Next month, okay, I'm going to have more. But it is so hardcore, and it is something that has never been done before, that we're going to have to do invite only at first with our students that have been through our class already because of the nature of this class being so hands-on and practical. Anyhow, more on that, but I just wanted everyone who's listening to know that yes, that class is coming to life. Finally, after 2 years of emailing and asking us in person, it is about to happen. So we've been busy little bees. In addition to all of the busy little bee-ness, Michelle and I have been writing a new book. Yes, The Size of Pain and Suffering. You know, right after the other book came out, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm not writing a book for a couple years. And then we started to see how much phishing was being used by the attackers in all these attacks that are going on. And we started to work with so many clients on helping them create phishing awareness programs. And, you know, we're one company, and we know there's others that do it. So we're not saying we're the only one that does it. We know there's others. But the amount of companies that are biting on wanting to do phishing education and the amount of companies that are doing a good job at it is a big disparity. So we said we needed to write a book that kind of outlined how to start a corporate phishing program, how to use phishing as part of your awareness program. So what's the title, Michelle?
Phishing Dark Waters. The offensive and defensive sides of malicious emails. Something like that.
Something
I should
scary.
know this. It's scary.
It's actually on Amazon right now for pre-order.
Which is a little bit ironic because we haven't finished writing it yet.
We haven't finished writing it yet. So we just hope and pray that we finish writing it because people are buying it. I have been told by a few people that they've already bought it pre-ordered. So for those,
scares me a little.
Yeah, me too. For those of you who have paid money for it, I promise that we will really try to finish it soon.
And we're working really hard on it, truly.
We really are. Okay, that's all the fun corporate-y stuff. Now let's get to the real matter at hand. So all the news lately, literally, I mean, we're talking like there's been a dozen stories so far, a couple press releases. We've even hit things like Network World. It's been mentioned on CNBC, Fox Business. We're talking about the SECTF. 5 years ago, heck, I had no clue it was going to turn into what it is. If those of you that were there with us in that first year, you remember the closet we were in, packing 40, 50, 60 people in that room, sitting on top of each other. It was 1,000 degrees, smelled like vomit, and it was a terrible room. It really was. We were in the Riv. It was just horrible. And that launched into last year having a 45-minute wait outside the doors and not a piece of carpet available for a seat. Packed room constantly for 3 days straight. And the SECTF has become a staple at DEF CON. So we felt, this year we really wanted to talk to the winners because we made it the hardest we possibly could. I really went all out. I thought, okay, we're seeing a lot of attacks that are using Teams. How realistic is that in a public setting? So let's take these two people, put them in the booth at the same time, and force them to tag out, to even count points. To get their points even on the board, they had to tag out in the middle of the call.
Yeah, it was really kind of mean. I think we came up with the idea after we hadn't slept and our workload was tremendous and we just wanted to be mean to people.
Yeah, I think it was when you came up with the idea to write this third book. And I was like, I hate Michelle, but I love her at the same time. I need someone to suffer. Who can suffer? Aha, contestants.
Yeah,
die.
We totally deflected it.
Yeah, we did. Because we can't be mad at each other. I mean, we work together. But we can take it out on the poor contestants.
Everybody else, yes.
And we did. So, our team winning was Schmooze Operators. And we're going to get them in the podcast now and talk to them about their methodology, their plan, how they did it. And there's a twist. Wait, there's more.
Wait.
There's a twist in this whole story and plot, and you're about to hear what it is when we get them on. So let's get Stephanie and Steve on now. Stephanie and Steve, how you guys doing today?
I'm good, thanks.
Doing well, thank you.
Or better known as the Schmooze Operators. Yeah, what a great name. So we announced before we got you guys in that there was a twist to the whole plot that I wanna talk about right up front because it will add to the rest of the conversation here. So our twist is that Stephanie, you were originally partnered with another partner, weren't you?
Right. Yep.
And you had worked with him for the 3 weeks. You wrote the whole report. You guys had everything scheduled, right? Your pretext, everything was planned.
Yep, we had it all planned out.
And then you come to DEF CON, and he's at DEF CON with you, right?
He is.
And then what happens?
And then I get a text an hour before I'm supposed to make my calls that he is puking and very sick.
So we're going to label that as con sickness, but I think we all know what happened there.
Yes.
But we'll say con sickness. And your partner got con sickness, and you decide to go to the audience and ask for a volunteer. And somehow you get Steve to raise his hand and volunteer. Was it blackmail? Did you have some dirt on him?
No, actually he's one of JC's friends. So I was looking around him when I was in the room. There was actually no one in the room. So I looked through JC's phone of all the people that I knew were at the con. And first time I saw Steve, I'm like, call Steve right now. So we got Steve on the phone. I'm like, hey, I need a favor. Come to the SECTF room. And he made it.
And Steve, what were you thinking? Like, when she asked you to jump in the booth in an hour from that point to be on a tag team competition. Now, just out of curiosity, Steve, do you do SE for a living at all?
I do not, no.
Okay. So you're not even a social engineer for a living. And now you get asked by the wife of one of your friends, and she says, jump in the booth with me and jump on the phone and be my partner in these calls.
Well, I mean, the funny part in that was that I didn't even know that's what it was when I was running down the hallways to go see them. I was actually working at the conference. I was wearing a goon badge. I'm thinking, okay, something's wrong with the recording. There's a problem. So I'm running there as fast as I can to get there. And then he tells me, oh, we need you to fill in. You don't really have a choice.
You don't have a choice. So you were given no opportunity to argue.
Yeah, he told me, you have to do this. This is when we're doing it. This is what you're going to do. Thanks for coming.
Wow. So JC totally just like stuck a foot in and
railroaded you into.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I love JC, but it definitely caught me off guard. I wasn't prepared at all.
So I actually feel less bad now about getting JC in trouble at the other hotel when I entered that server room and he had to wake up at 3 a.m. Yeah, I feel less bad about that now on your behalf because of that. So then at that point, you now know that you're about to get in front of a booth. You obviously saw the room being packed with like 500 people. Were
Yeah.
you nervous?
I was incredibly nervous. I didn't have a whole lot of time to go through her scripts or anything like that. I saw the list of flags, and I basically just decided to wing it based off everything that was on the flags. So I went up there completely unprepared and shaking.
Okay, so now Stephanie, let's jump back to you.
Okay.
I want to get to the OSINT in a minute, but this part of the story really is fascinating because this is the first time this has ever happened. So first of all, this is the first year we ever did tag team competitions. It was a big deal for us. We wanted to make it more difficult, but not make it impossible. But we knew that planning was necessary, and that's why we added an extra week to the OSI portion. Right? We usually give 2 when we meet at 3. So you had those 3 weeks, but then you lost your partner. So what was your pretext that you were planning on going with?
I was able to stick with the same pretext, which was I was calling from corporate IT and that we were doing a security audit, and that I was kind of asking more of the vendor questions, things that weren't really technical. And then my male partner was going to be asking more of the technical questions. So we were kind of trying to play the male, female stereotypical rules.
And you are technical by your job, by your nature, right, Stephanie?
Right. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that is actually I'd like to bring that up because that's quite smart because that's ego suspension, which is very good. You realize that unfortunately we still live in a society where people will view the woman as less technical. And in this case, you are very technical, but you decided to play that role to make people believe it more.
Right.
And now what was your reason for handing the call off? Because this is a big deal.
Right. So I called just to get them on the phone, get them connected, and I just asked a couple of questions about the vendors and things like that. And I said, hey, my IT guy needs to ask you some computer relay questions, so hold on while I transfer you to him.
And now you transfer the call to Steve, and now Steve takes over as the technical auditor.
Right.
And he gets to ask all the tech questions that are in the list of flags.
Mm-hmm.
So now, Steve, you have to, obviously, one of the things that helped you win was that you guys were very skilled at handing the calls back and forth without alerting the target people that you were, that this was an SE call.
I was just going to say, it doesn't seem like there was any suspicion on the part of the targets at all. I was really kind of surprised at that, even with the number of handoffs that there were.
Because you had a ton of handoffs. So you had no time to practice this, Steve, even mentally. So what was your reason for handing it back to Stephanie?
Well, I mean, so she told me that the points that you get were based off a few different flags, and then you get extra points for passing it back and forth. So it made sense to pass it back and forth.
Yeah, but I agree. I agree that makes sense. Not an easy thing to do, especially if you have a target that's a little leery. So what was your reason? Like, how did you explain it?
Oh, I see. Basically, I asked all the technical questions, and then I believe at the end of the call, I basically just said that, okay, that's all I have for you. I'm going to hand you back over to your original contact. Please wait for her to answer.
And then that worked. And what I kind of found impressive with your calls is, Stephanie, especially because I know you did the legwork here with this, is that you had your list of numbers. You were very prepared to keep moving. And as soon as you were done with one call, it was like, okay, come on, move, next call.
Exactly. I was like, nobody clap. The clock's ticking. Let's keep going.
Yeah. and you were very serious about that because I remember at one point, like, people were clapping because you had real success, and you were like, shut up, move, call, now.
Exactly. I just saw that clock, and that's all I was thinking. I have so much time left.
And what's interesting to me is you didn't want, I don't know if this is even a fair question, but was there no thought for you to adjust your pretext when you had to call in someone that was last minute 1 hour before the competition?
Not at all. I was pretty excited with my pretext. I thought it worked really well, and I was lucky to have a male unit partner, and I knew Steve was very competent, so I was pretty excited.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, please.
One of the biggest things about her pretext that helped, or her research ahead of time, is she had the store numbers and the store managers. So when she transferred the calls over to me, I answered the phone and kind of an annoyed, like, this is, Bob Franco, please confirm your store number, already knowing their store number. And then I would respond with telling them their store manager. And that immediately, set a level of trust between us when she transferred the call.
Okay, let's talk about that for a minute, because one of the rules we have, and this comes up every year when we talk to companies who were targets, one of the rules we have is that it really is OSI. You're not allowed to hack into any databases. You're not allowed to buy information. You're not allowed to call the target companies ahead of time and get all of this. So you guys had to obtain all of this detail, all of this information, and do it all open source. Now I'm going to say, Stephanie, you know, since your original partner, wasn't there, and your new partner wasn't part of the OSI, that this falls on you.
Right.
Were you able to find all of those details just sitting on the web, just sitting out there on some file that you can have access to?
It was ridiculous how much information was out there on this company. There was just so much. Just on the company's website alone gave all the detail that I needed for the calls, for the manager's number, the store numbers, different phone numbers in the store. Just all of it was very easy to find, which is very scary.
So you didn't even have to do like a line-by-line LinkedIn search. It sounds like you just went to the target's website and it was all there for you.
That was for that information. To find other flags, I used a lot of LinkedIn. And actually, my biggest moneymaker for flags was Instagram.
Huh.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let's talk about that, because that is something that I think will be interesting to a lot of people. Are we talking corporate Instagram? Or are we talking employees? Explain more about that.
Okay, it was definitely from both. I just searched hashtags, company name, workflow. I mean, little nicknames that you kind of learn the lingo, and you kind of see who's posting what pictures and what other hashtags they're using, and then you kind of pivot off those hashtags, and you just, yeah, I found a lot of things on Instagram.
Okay, and this is one thing I always push this with clients and people that we work with. So I get corporate accounts, right? And people want to have corporate accounts. Heck, we have corporate social media. You like to promote your employees, your company, your brand. But now employees are using, obviously for you to find them, they're either using their corporate email accounts or they're hashtagging their personal accounts with their corporate names, right?
Right.
And then that enables you to now search them, ID them as an employee of your target company, and now you not only have company information, but you were able to obtain personal information, which would be very damaging if you really were an attacker when it comes to their likes, dislikes, hobbies, kids, families, things like that.
Exactly.
Okay, so, and this is one of the things that we always get asked, right? Because I know part of the competition, we don't allow attacks on people. So we're not asking you to go find Sally Smith and embarrass her at the CTF, and it's all corporate based. But from your research and from the OSI that you did, would you say that the information from a personal level was overwhelming, or that it would be easy to attack a company on a personal level, or would it take a lot more work?
It was ridiculous how easy it was. I can't even count how many employees I found that had hashtagged the company name or the corporate name. And yeah, you just get to see into their lives, and it's really scary, all the information they put out there.
Yeah, and that's the problem that we see all over, right? And it seems like this year, some of the trends we saw in the OSI were a lot more social media being used to find target information and flag information. A lot more social media. But yet these Instagram accounts are obviously public, not locked down, and that's why you're able to go and see them. Were there any other major sources of intel that you use besides Instagram?
Like you just said, a lot of social media. Instagram was the biggest, and I got quite a bit off LinkedIn. A lot of employees like to brag in detail about what they do, and that just puts too much information out there.
Okay, so now you have this massive report, and you had a really, really robust report. One of the things that I'll say for almost all of the contestants this year, which we were impressed with, is the quality of the reports were really good. So I remember when we first started this, people would basically take, dozens and dozens of pages of information and just paste it in a Word document and send it as their report. And it was painful to read them and grade them. And now we're seeing neat, very organized data sets and identification of the flags that are obtained. So your report was quite large, but also very detailed and broken down intelligently, so it was easy to read, which of course added to your overall score. Now you have all this, like Steve said, breakdown of the stores, the managers, the phone numbers, the numbers, which adds to the validity of your pretext. Now you get on the phone. Are you shocked that not one person says something like, "Hey, how come you're not calling from corporate?" Or "How do I know you're from IT?" Did that happen at all?
It did not happen once, and I was almost expected to be transferred to a manager. But one of the things I did is I went right into my very fast pretext of who I was, why I was calling, and I just started asking questions. I didn't give them time to say, hold on, this doesn't make sense, or really, why do you need this information? I just jumped right into it. I did not give them any time at all to think.
Actually, that's a really important point because that is one thing I have in my notes about your particular calls. Is a lot of times we see people do things on the calls where they'll say, "Hi, my name's Chris and I'm from corporate IT." Almost like I'm pausing, waiting for you to now jump in and say something about, you know, a question or question me. I'm giving you that ability. And you never did that. You kind of went from, I'm from corporate IT and I'm doing this audit and here's my first question without even a breath, it seemed like many times.
Yeah. Yep.
So that confidence obviously helped you in proving that you were who you say you were.
Now, Stephanie, did you find that difficult? What did it feel awkward, just sort of just rushing right in there? Because a lot of times we do have sort of, within at least interpersonal conversation, there's sort of an ebb and flow to things. But I do remember this clearly, how you just kind of plowed in there. Did you have to overcome any sort of discomfort associated with that?
It's funny you asked. The night before, I had my hairbrush and I was practicing in the mirror, and I was doing it with pauses, and it just didn't feel right. Like I felt like I was giving them that time to say, "Hold on," or "I'm going to transfer you," or just think about it. So then I started practicing saying it all, and pretty much without a breath,
Mm-hmm.
and it did feel very awkward. It didn't feel right, but at the same time, I thought maybe it would work. So once it worked on the first call, I'm like, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep this going.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is that, within social engineering, we do lots of things that not only make our targets feel a little bit uncomfortable, but they make us feel uncomfortable as well
Right.
because we're sort of violating those social norms. But at the same time, look where it got you, right?
Exactly.
It's so true. um, Actually, you brought up an interesting question, which unfortunately is going to be geared much more towards Stephanie than Steve. How much practice did you actually do? How much practice did you take when it came to getting prepared for the competition?
Well, I was actually supposed to meet with my partner the night before so we can kind of go over everything, but it just didn't work out. So, like I said, I was in the mirror the night before in my hotel room with my hairbrush looking and just trying to talk everything through. But that was pretty much the only time I was talking out loud and practicing. A lot of the stuff beforehand, I was just reading through my report, making sure I really understood the company.
Yeah, very interesting. Now, Steve, when you were doing when it was your time to be on the phone, did you ever get a time where someone tried to stop you or questioned what you were doing as part of this team?
We only had one that I can really remember, and that was, I believe it was a manager who had asked why we were calling from a different number than they usually receive phone calls from.
Ah, good question. Now, how did you get? Did you get past that, or did that end the call?
No, we actually pulled that one off. I panicked for like maybe half a second and then responded with, actually we're calling from a call center off-site. So obviously the numbers get changed to the routing services. I'm actually not sure what number you're seeing because I'm not even in the same state. And she immediately gave us the information we asked for.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I think there's a good lesson there, right? For at least for anyone who does this for a living, is one having a solid answer. I think if you had just said something like, probably wouldn't have went as well. So having a solid answer that explains away the potential fear they have, and then I remember this, and I remember it was said with confidence, and that confidence probably, no, not probably, definitely helped you get past that with the manager.
And we've actually mentioned this a couple times. It's sort of it's backed up in social sciences. There's we talk about Dr. Ellen Langer a lot, and she did this really interesting experiment where people were asking to cut in line at a Xerox machine, and people who just asked to cut, most of the time they're like they weren't allowed to cut in. But anyone who gave a reason, regardless of the strength of the reason, but said it with confidence, again, were much more likely to be allowed into line. So the interesting thing is, if you think about Steve's response, it may or may not make a whole lot of sense. If that guy had thought, well, wait, do we have offsite call centers? And, why would they be there? It may not have been the strongest answer, but the way that Steve presented the information, I think, was enough, at least for that level of individual, to seal the deal, right?
Yeah, and I think, like Michelle, what you're saying is that question alone, if he says that to himself, like, do we have off-site call centers? And the answer in his brain may be, I don't know, maybe we do. So now there's that social obligation. Do I question him? What if this guy really is from IT? Do I become a jerk?
Right. How rude do I really want to be today?
Right. And we get that question all the time when it comes to clients. They'll ask us, like, are you telling us we need to be rude on the phone? And that's a hard thing for many people to say, like, well, sometimes you do have to be a little bit of a jerk. And people have a really hard time with that. So that only happened once, Steve, to you, that someone tried to stop you with noticing that the call number was not proper.
That I can remember, yeah. For the most part, they were very willing to answer questions.
You know, we really thought that this was going to be another point of contention for the contestants this year because for the last 2 years, maybe 3 years, we have not allowed call spoofing, phone number spoofing. So you have a call where there's more than 2 people on it. I'm sorry, more than one person on it. So you have 2 people on the call. You have to transfer back and forth, and you're calling from a number that will never be recognizable to the target company. And to add it for your team, you now had a guy who had absolutely zero experience in the information, no experience as a social engineer, and 1 hour to prepare pretext, mind, and body for sitting in front of 500 people looking at you while you make these calls.
So you'd have really thought that the target should have been very heavily favored.
In this call, if I was a betting man, I would have put money on the target.
Absolutely.
To put money on the target. With all those things against them, you know, especially the lack of preparation time. And like, as I know for us, when we do this for work, we'll spend hours and hours, days at times, talking about our pretexts, planning them out, sometimes even practicing them amongst a team to make sure we got them, writing out scripts, making sure that all the details are solid in our mind, and then we start calls. If someone called me right now and said, hey, can you call my company an hour from now? I would put money on the company that they would win just because of the nerves and lack of preparation and things like that. So that, to me, I think really points to the overwhelming fact that social engineering is still a major, major threat to corporate America. I think, obviously, but, you know, I'm a little biased. If I can ask, and I'm not asking for the company that you work for, but what do you guys do for work? So what is it, Stephanie, that you do on a daily role?
I'm actually now a social engineer consultant, so I've been able to have a lot of fun.
And was that before the competition you did that, or?
No, it actually started right after this last competition. I had a handful of companies reach out to me and say, hey, can you do this for us? So I've been doing it ever since, and it is just a blast. It's such a rush.
It is, isn't it? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I know that. So before the competition, what was it that your job was?
Yeah, I've been a stay-at-home mom for some years now.
Okay, so you even though you're technical by nature,
Mm-hmm.
you were not spending time every day, even in sales roles or phone roles or anything that would even be related to this.
Correct.
Well, besides you're dealing with the best social engineers on the planet, with your kids.
It's very true.
So maybe that's good experience in itself, right?
Yes.
And Steve, what about you?
So primarily I work as a software developer, but I do a lot of tech support phone calls, and I also talk to the client a lot. So I've had some experience in sales and answering technical questions over the phone, like, you know, explaining where that settings button is on Internet Explorer. So that kind of played nicely into what we were doing.
Right. Okay. So both of you have some technical experience, and you have the experience of talking to people, but again, you're not sitting on the phone all day having to make up pretexts, in essence, come up with false stories on the phone. Yeah, I'm just trying to get a clear picture because one of the other things that we tried to prove with the competition, and I think the reason I'm really excited that your team won, that you two won, is that we've been saying for years that social engineering is a big threat, and it doesn't mean that the only people who are a threat are those who do this every day for a living nonstop. It's that you can take some guy out of the audience with no practice, 1 hour, and doesn't do this for a living, and his partner not being a social engineer professional, put him in a booth, and bam, they not only win, but like dominate at the competition. Your handoffs were extreme, your pretext was great, your point values were higher than everybody else, and I just from a personal happiness, you beat your husband, JC. So that and I think, Steve, for you, since you were forced into it by JC, it probably felt good standing on the stage looking down at him, being like, "Yeah, you lost, sucker."
I don't necessarily think that I look down on him, but I've made a point to tell him every time that I'm proud that he's able to win second place 3 years in a row or something like that.
Ouch, ouch. So, Stephanie, do you wear the black badge around the house? Just curious.
I have been tempted many, many times, but no, I have not.
I think you should. I think like one day when he comes home from work, you just be wearing the black badge and be like, oh, did I leave this on today? Oh, I'm sorry. Kind of thing, because that is really cool, by the way, the black badge, and the fact that you guys won that is special for us this year. We didn't know that DEF CON wasn't telling anyone who was a black badge contest until Saturday afternoon, so we didn't even know if we would be awarded that. But it's kind of cool that people still put all that effort and work into it, not knowing what the results will be. So still really, really cool that we have that part of the competition. But that was neat to have. And then, to give JC credit, he was second place, so he was up there with you. So
yeah,
how is this at home now? I mean, you got two social engineers now that both competed and ranked high in the competition, and now, boy, it must be fun when you get phone calls.
It is fun. We're actually kind of impressed by our kids. We'll be thinking about dinner, and then all of a sudden one of them will put a bug in our head. We're like, wait a second, we know what you're doing.
They are the best, aren't they?
Yeah, it's really scary.
Yes, I'm with you. I tell you, I got a couple myself, and they're always tricking me into stuff. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, were there other things that you had to do to kind of prepare for DEF CON this year, with being that it was a team competition? And I know you sat in the room and watched the competition for, I don't know, what, 3, 4? Were you with us all the way back at the Riv days?
No.
So, but you've been in the room for quite a few years watching,
yeah.
So.
Yep, this was my 4th year and 3rd year competing.
We struggled with that for a long time, if this was going to be unfair to you guys, or if it was going to create conditions where, you really weren't going to be able to obtain flags. I'm just curious from your perspective how that was with you.
Yeah, it totally threw me off guard. It was different. I had to sit down and we had to figure out, okay, you take over this section. We actually divided up flags so we knew which ones to search for. And then as far as developing the pretext, that took a little bit. It's different having 2 people on the phone. So it did take a little bit more out of us, but it definitely paid off in the end.
Were there other pretexts that you thought about using, or once you did your OSI, were you basically like, oh no, this is the one that's going to work?
Yeah, we had a couple other ones. I can't even remember them. I think one was like an assistant and a manager, the female being the assistant and the male being the manager. But once the first call just took off, and especially too with Steve jumping in last minute, I wanted to try to keep it as simple as possible. So, we decided to stay with that one.
So were all the pretexts that you came up with related to a work environment, like both of you working together and always choosing to make the female lower on the totem pole?
Yes, that's what we chose.
Yeah, very, very interesting on that, and a real interesting play into gender bias as we see it, unfortunately.
Right.
But really interesting, because we had a couple people that were going to try things like husband-wife teams, or customers of the company that were brother, sister, husband, wife, something like that. And so I was interested to see if there were other pretexts that you thought may work besides the corporate level.
Yeah, we definitely thought about all those, but sitting in the room for 4 years, you kind of see what works.
Yeah, so that's something else we talk about often, is because I remember for like the first 3 years, every year we got those people who wanted to try, like, I'm doing a free survey. Can you help me? And I was so happy to see that this year we didn't see the I'm a college student, can you help me with a survey bit?
Right.
Because that always seems, as a long-time attender, you probably noticed that too. It always seems to fail. I don't think I've ever seen that work once at the competition. So that was good to not see those things. So where do you go from here? Now you got a black badge. Steve, this is your first time. Are you going to make SE more of a career path now? Do you fall in love with it, or are you still scared to death when you think about it?
I've studied a little bit more. I definitely like it. I think it's something that we should all include in our lives. It helps in a lot of other facets aside from malicious ones. Um, so I love it. I mean, I definitely want to try to do it again.
Excellent. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a little biased, but, it's what I do. So, but I can't argue with that. I think it's good for all sorts of communication styles and communication needs, whether malicious or not. In prepping, both of you, this is a question we always ask guests. Were there any particular books or any things that you read that you said, wow, this really helped me learn about rapport, or this really helped me learn about elicitation, or was there anything that you did to prepare yourself in your studies that you'd like to recommend to people who listen?
Can I be corny and recommend your book?
You can, yeah, thank you.
No, but really, your book, both of your books I've learned so much, and they really are amazing.
Oh, thank you. Well, I appreciate
Mhm.
that. That's the first time that's happened. So,
I actually do have a couple recommendations. Not so much only for over the phone. I mean, a lot of the interactions you're going to have are going to be in person as well. So I would have to recommend most books by Dr. Ekman, like Telling Lies and things like that. Those are all excellent books.
I love that book, of course. Also biased there, but I agree with that as far as communicating. Ekman's a great source of information there. Those are good books when it comes to learning how to communicate with people, whether on the phone or not. So I do appreciate that referral. Now, I won't force you into this part, especially because of the content of the podcast. But if you want people to be able to contact you or learn where to follow you, do you want to give out a Twitter account or a website or something where people can find out more about you?
Sure, I'll give my email. It's Stephanie@snowoffensivesecurity.com.
That's like SNOW.
Yep.
Okay. And we'll make sure that's in the podcast notes too. We like to offer that in case people want that. How about you, Steve?
You can actually just find me on LinkedIn. It's just the linkedin.com /in/Steve Moreland,
Okay.
STEVEMORLAM.
So if people have any questions that we didn't ask here or any more information needed, feel free to reach out to Stephanie and Steve, the most unprepared team ever that took first place and totally obliterated the competition, including her own husband at the SECTF DEF CON 22. So, Steve, Stephanie, excellent source of info here. I really appreciate you guys coming on. This was something that we wanted to really feature this year because of just how good the competition went and how good you guys did. So thank
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
And
Well,
good luck to you both as future social engineers.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
and we'll see you at DEF CON 23.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that was a great podcast. I think it's important to kind of get a sense. What I was happy with is that neither of them did this or do this for a living before the competition. So we had a software developer and a stay-at-home mom, and they totally won 100% guaranteed that they did everything above board. Their pretexts were non-confrontational. Their report was top quality, and their calls were just done right.
So it really just tells you that it's, obviously we are dealing with skill issues and experience issues, but really if you go in prepared well and you've done your research on your target, you can go a long ways.
That's scary, isn't it?
Very.
I mean, it's scary to think that you have two people who've never even taken a day to do anything in this industry, and they can get inside of a booth and own a major Fortune 500 company with almost every flag on the list.
Absolutely, without a technical tool.
Without one technical tool.
At hand, yeah.
Yeah. And with a guy who had 1 hour of preparation.
To prep, yes.
That's the part that I think just blows me away the most, is that he didn't even have like a couple hours. It was like basically, you're going to do this because you're my friend. Now get in the booth and enjoy. Well, another great podcast. Michelle, we're missing half of our crew though. No Dave today.
I'm lonely. It's so quiet.
No Ping.
I know.
Sad. Why do people have lives that don't involve us?
So lonely.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I thought, doesn't the world revolve around us?
Yeah, that's the rule.
That's what I thought. I mean, I read that in a book somewhere, So, I guess until next month, well, personally, I can't believe that we're ending 2014 already.
Yeah, it's gone by really quick.
Yeah, I really can't believe it. I'm like sitting here going, wait. 2014 just started. I mean, we're already scheduling work into the midpoint of 2015.
And we're actually looking at 2016 for other things.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that's really ridiculous if you think about it. But not a bad problem to have. Not complaining.
Yep.
In the meantime, you can check us out, social-engineer.org or social-engineer.com. Twitter accounts, mine is Human Hacker, and we got our corporate account at SOC Engineer Inc. Everyone thinks that I do both, and I want to tell everybody, I don't do both. Michelle and the team of really intelligent people that work with me runs the Social Engineer Inc. account. So, and people sometimes will say, "Hey, you never respond to me," and I'm like, "I didn't get I didn't get a tweet." And then I go and look at that account, and I realize that they're pinging me there, wondering why I didn't respond. I'm sorry, folks. Human Hacker, you want to hit me up? That's the best way to get me. Or, of course, you can jump on IRC and irc.freenode.net on channel social-engineer. Or the website has contact details. You can get us there. Until next time, we'll see you.
I'm gonna go. My heart is gone. I'm gonna go. Swan boats and daisy chains can't seem to